Continuing now on Newsmax Prime, you will recall Donald Trump took an outspoken stance against illegal immigration when he announced his candidacy. Democrats thought, hey, they could use those words against him. But as Ed Berliner reports, there are growing numbers of American Latinos who agree with Mr. Trump.
In Nevada, for those that haven't heard, they just did a poll, and I'm leading. Not only am I leading by a lot in the poll, but almost more important to me, because I employ hundreds, and actually I employ thousands of Hispanics, and over the years tens of thousands. But I'm leading in the poll by a landslide with the Hispanics, which is a great honor for me.
We Americans don't like to see people treated like criminals or traitors or strangers because of their race or their religion.
Earlier in Las Vegas, she painted a grim picture of Trump in the White House.
If you're Latino, you know what life would be like, because we'd have a president who doesn't see you as American.
If there is one group of American voters who can turn this presidential election on its ear next week, it's those of Latin American descent. For the first time in our political history, the Hispanic electorate will climb past the 27 million mark, nearly outnumbering the tally of African Americans in the United States. The rub here is that the Hispanic population skews much younger than some of the other key voting blocs. About 44% of them are in the millennial category, those born after 1980. And despite their growing numbers, the fact that younger people never seem to find their way to the polls in large numbers makes this part of the equation difficult to get a handle on. However, those Hispanics who are backing Donald Trump are certainly not hiding in the shadows.
2016, I will be voting for Donald Trump. Hillary Clinton, you better be ready.
I support Trump because he will improve the economy, create jobs, stop illegal immigration, reform education, reform healthcare, reform the VA for our veterans, basically reform every single failed policy under this current Obama administration.
Democrats have long believed they have Hispanics in their back pocket. As Tuesday approaches, maybe they need to recheck those pockets. JD, it's all yours.
Thanks, Ed, for reaction and analysis. We're joined by Grant Stinchfield, who's host of the Stinchfield Report that airs on KLIF Dallas, weekdays from 5 to 8 Central Time. Grant, we appreciate you making time for us tonight on Newsmax Prime. Gotta ask you, there you are in the border state of Texas, deep in the heart of Texas. I represented Arizona in Congress for 6 terms, and I would tell people back east, beware the myth of the monolith, the notion that if you have a Hispanic surname, you instantly support open border candidates. I'd imagine you find the same thing to be true there in Texas.
Yeah, of course, JD, I'm right there with you. In fact, we have callers of Hispanic descent that call into this radio program all the time that tell us they're supporting Donald Trump. And I think if you're here legally, all right, if you're a legal immigrant, you understand what Donald Trump is saying. We cannot have open borders, not knowing who's coming, who's going. It puts a drain on society. So even those immigrants that are here legally understand that the same things we face as a society also affects them, the negative effects of illegal immigration. So I think you are correct, and I think that Ed is correct, that there are a lot of those Hispanics here in Texas and other border states that are going to be voting for Donald Trump.
And of course, you and I can cite anecdotal evidence. Now, I'm a little skeptical of what is claimed to be empirical evidence. There was a poll sponsored by the Washington Post and Univision that claims Latino voters are 3-1 with Hillary. Now, I guess the argument is, yes, she might have a majority, but every vote that Donald Trump deprives her of can really make a difference for Mr. Trump on Tuesday.
It can, JD, and there's evidence here in Texas right now that the Latino vote is just not engaged and motivated to go out and vote for Hillary Clinton. I'm not saying that Donald Trump's going to get a majority of Hispanic voters out there. I know that's not going to happen, but I do think he's going to get a percentage that's going to help him. And we see, and this is not just for Hispanics, it also goes for blacks, and it goes for many union workers. Hillary Clinton is not motivating people to get out there and vote for her. This is not Barack Obama of 2008 or even 2012. Hillary Clinton has a motivation problem, and that's why I think 2 things are going to happen this election. Either Donald Trump is going to lose by a slim margin to Hillary Clinton, or it's going to be a landslide in Donald Trump's favor because of all these folks who are unexpected going to the polls and voting for him, which includes Democrats who are members of unions and includes some Hispanics.
And speaking of that, something else that might lend itself to a landslide is the backlash for what happened yesterday in my old Arizona stomping grounds. There was Hillary's running mate, Senator Tim Kaine, showing up in Phoenix, giving a speech at a rally completely in Spanish. Boy, I've even heard from Arizona Hispanic voters who say, listen, you got to have English as the official language of government. They understand, though, there's a difference between official English and English only. Grant, your take on this Hispandering done by Tim Kaine yesterday.
Well, this is exactly when you hear Hillary Clinton fall back into like Southern church speak and when she goes to black communities. And so there you have Tim Kaine going out there and giving a speech in Spanish. He's a big dope, JD. And so I'm telling people out there, listen, Hillary Clinton is going to be under federal indictment fairly soon. Even if she wins, she's going to be marred with congressional hearings. It is going to be a nightmare in Washington. She will not make it through 4 years of a presidency. Does anybody want Tim Kaine to take over for her? This guy's a lunatic.
Rusty, you call him a big dope. I call him the evil elf. I really think that speech yesterday in Phoenix was out of line. But of course, he gave a speech completely in Espanol on the Senate floor, extolling the virtues of amnesty in that infamous Gang of Eight bill. And we know what Hillary has claimed she'll do in her first 100 days. Now, to the essence of the race itself. Grant, earlier today, I spoke with pollster John Zogby about Mr. Trump and his upward trend in the polls. Here's what John had to say.
Republicans, of course, who were cool towards Donald Trump, now seeing the reality that there could be a President Clinton, are coming home to the Republican nominee. On the flip side of that, the problem that Clinton faces is that a key element of her base, African Americans, are not coming home just yet.
And so while Zogby talks about turnout, Grant, I want to talk about a turnout of one yesterday, not to vote, but to be in visible support of the Trump-Pence ticket. It's your United States Senator, your junior Senator, Ted Cruz. Now, Ted showing up visibly in that key state of Iowa. How important was that to influence some of these never-Trumpers heretofore to get on the Trump train?
Well, first off, I want to say that I'm a fan of Ted Cruz. He's a strong conservative. He's been a good senator from the state of Texas. But I will tell you, we were all here in Texas very disappointed in his behavior, the whiny little loser, take my ball and go home attitude. And he shows up. We got 4 days now, JD, 4 days. He shows up 5 days before an election and think this is going to make the big difference in the world. Ted Cruz has an arrogance problem. He's got to get over it because it's bigger than him. We're talking about our nation's future. And 5 days out, I'm glad he finally showed up. I guess better late than never. But I'm telling you, this made a lot of people angry, and people are not that easy to forgive him for his actions here.
All right. Well, we'll leave Ted to work that out with you Texans. But before we go, I know you appreciate quality production, both in radio and television. An elect Trump video was made using the speech from Rocky Balboa in the Rocky movies. Let's take a listen.
You, me, or nobody is going to hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, then go out and get what you're worth. But you gotta be willing to take the hits and not pointing fingers saying you ain't where you want to be because of him or her or anybody. Cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that.
So Grant, I bet that Sylvester Stallone talk even translates in Texas. Listen, my man, time grows short. We want to thank you. We'll bring you back to talk more in the days ahead. Grant Stinchfield tonight from KLIF Dallas. We appreciate your time so much. Thanks a bunch.